Hi there, it's Lori with you, and today the moon is in Virgo, and we had the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. And I noticed that some people were really frustrated and upset because things didn't go very well for them today, and they expected magic to happen. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. We're going to talk about you didn't do it wrong, you didn't manifest wrong. Sometimes when there's big energy, some things have to fall apart to bring new things in. And yes, that is frustrating. And most of us came from a background of you have to be good to get things, okay? Or you have to do things exactly right or it doesn't work out. There's a lot of really bad theology out there in this world that has to do with crime and punishment. That has to do, you have to do things exactly right and be perfect, or you get punished by the universe and God or whatever you're calling the deity. Here's the deal. All of that is wrong. The universe does not care. Okay, it doesn't. Energy doesn't work that way. And we don't come into this life to be perfect or to get off the planet. We're here for a specific amount of time that is individual to each one of us. And we're here for a range of experiences. So all those rules about you have to light the candle this way, or you have to say your prayer exact, or those who are blessed by whatever deity, have life going on. And those who have bad things happen must have done something wrong. All of that is BS. That's not how it works. And if you wanted to control people, and this goes back thousands of years, if you wanted to control people, you would tell them, don't think too much and don't want too much. And only the very blessed have good things. And so that would make everybody kind of doubt themselves and wonder what they're doing wrong. And if you have some kind of suffering, you must be cursed, or you must be somehow insufficient. And none of that is true. None of it is true. Energy doesn't work that way. And it's really important, since we had this great awakening in 2020, it's really important to have some really good information about how to work with this new awareness, because there is so much out there that's predatory. Okay, and kind of builds on those old beliefs that you woke up from. Okay, so that programming is still there. Now, as we have this moon in Virgo, it's easy to pick apart how things aren't working. It's easy to look at how things are broken. It's easy to see the flaws, but it's also a great time to heal. And Virgo, it never gets discussed, is Virgo is a deeply compassionate sign. It is not empathetic like Pisces. Pisces resonates off the strings we're sending out. When we pluck the strings, the emotional strings, whether it's frustration, whether it's anger, whether it's sorrow or trauma, Pisces will resonate with that, okay? Virgo detaches so it can be the healer. Everybody forgets that Virgo is the healer. Okay. And in order to be a healer, you have to detach. Okay. You can't be right in those owie feelings, because then you can't do your job. You have to step back and allow the energy to wash through you, not stay in you. Now, here's the deal about Pisces energy. Pisces does not have to always absorb. Pisces is also a transmitter, and people forget about that, because in the 1960s, there was a lot of interesting interpretations done by the Pluto and Leo generation. Let's just put it that way. Just like the magical world was kind of turned upside down through patriarchal beliefs back in the 19th century and early 20th century. It doesn't work this way. You're not being punished, okay? If shit fell apart, it fell apart because you're getting ready for something better. And I know that hurts. Okay, it does. It hurts. No one in my position who is an elder teacher has had it easy. No one was just blessed to be here. We don't become healers and teachers and experts in metaphysics or any other deep study, whether it's magical, energetical, or intellectual. We don't get there for no reason. We've had a walk. So when you look at us, and I know a lot of you are younger, but when you look at us and you're like, whoa, that one looks like they've been stomped over a little bit, they look a little old, it's because we did the work. And the work isn't always tra-la-la-la-la, okay? We've gone deep into the shadows, deep. We have literally walked through hell to get up onto the other side, onto the mountain, so that we could help other people and enjoy our lives. And it's not selfish to want to enjoy your life or be comfortable. That programming, that if you want for you, that if you want to be healthy and whole, if you want to have a happy life, if you want to be comfortable physically, the theology behind that being selfish, that is a control mechanism, okay? And it comes from hundreds and hundreds of years. Hundreds, not just from colonialism. It goes way back, because colonialism was an offshoot of this theology. It goes back thousands of years. Okay, it goes back to the Bronze Age. It goes back to Mesopotamia, where it was those who were blessed by God were in charge, and those who were not were in bondage. Okay, and that's where it comes from. And it just spread from Mesopotamia all over the world. Okay, and some people just decided to run with it. So if you've been disappointed today because the magic didn't seem to happen, well, let's talk about what magic actually is. Magic is energy. That's all it is. And sometimes on this physical plane, in order to receive things, we have to have things break up and fall apart. Have you ever heard the term, you got to break down before you break through? It's like the pulling back of a bow before it snaps forward. It's like before you shoot a rubber band, you pull it and then it snaps forward. And I can guarantee you didn't do anything wrong. Nothing wrong. You are not cursed. You are not damaged. You are not incomplete. You are not deficient. You are not less than, and you are always worthy. Always worthy. Okay? The universe isn't trying to punish you. The universe literally is a neutral energy. Okay? It doesn't sit and take account of all the thoughts you had today. It doesn't sit and go, oh, hey, this person is really screwed up. Let's send them some screwed up situations. The universe does not care. They don't care if you're jealous. They don't care. The universe does not care. Okay? It does not see the foibles in your life as bad necessarily. It's a very neutral space. And believe me, the deeper you get into that knowing, the more it can kind of drive you crazy, because it makes you look at things differently. We do not know the pathway of anyone else. We cannot sit and condemn anyone else. And I literally mean that, because the universe is its own spectrum. It is energy. It is energy. It is quarks and neutrinos and particles. And when you resonate on certain frequency, you access a certain frequency, point blank. So we're going to talk about Pisces energy just a little bit. So with Pisces, I know a lot of people will be like, I just absorb everything. I just absorb everything. Honeys, I have Neptune in the first house in Scorpio, trine my Sun and Mercury in Cancer. I understand what it's like to be absorbent for energy. But when I learned the key, that I did not just have to take in everything, and that what I was taking in was a resonance to what was inside of me. So because I felt the burden of massive trauma, I felt the trauma of the world, because that was the frequency on which I was resonating. Okay? And so as I learned to turn my attention, to change the channel on the radio station, that I wanted to feel peace. I wanted to feel complete. I wanted to feel at ease. The more I turned my attention to those things, the more that is what I felt. It doesn't make me unaware of what goes on in the world, but I no longer own the suffering. And that is the difference. Okay? When you can observe and not absorb, and we are transmitters as much as we are receivers. And the lack of that knowledge, which is deeply rooted in esoteric truths, okay, is what keeps people stuck. I saw a comment on one of my videos where someone said they were afraid to dream today because they were told it was delusion. And I am heartbroken by that. As a human, it is your job to dream. It is your job to have hope. It is your job to use your imagination. We would have nothing good or bad in this life if someone had not imagined it. Okay? That's our job, is to dream. Everybody has a 12th house. It's not just delusion. It is the incubator of the hopes and dreams and aspirations of the 11th house. And I know there's a lot of astrologers on TikTok and YouTube and hell, even in the professional societies who want to be logical and fucking rational to the point it makes you despair. And that is not our job. Our job is to dream. And it is not delusion. You know what's delusional? Living a meager existence. Living in pain. And I'm not talking about physical pain. I'm talking about soul, deep, emotional suffering. That is a delusion. We are not here for that. We are here to dream. And dream ourselves into peace. Okay? To dream ourselves into wellness and hope. And I get passionate about this because as a young woman who had suffered CSA, psychological abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse from the age of 2 until 15, I was told I could never be happy. Never in my life would I be happy. And these were world famous psychologists. I was told to just give up magical thinking and that I could never be well. Now that was the 80s and we know a lot more about the human brain today. But when I think about all the other children those people saw, who maybe didn't have the ability to dream as much as I did, because I thought, 1, they were cuckoo, but 2, I still believed it just enough that my journey was torturous until my Saturn return. Half of my life. And the second half, after being told that, was almost harder than when I was being abused. Because while I was being abused as a child, I had hope. I woke up every day saying, it's gotta be better than this. It can't always be this bad. And so when people believe that magical thinking and hope is not realistic, they are dooming you to an existence that is not your birthright. Your birthright is to have experiences, and some of them are good and some of them are not good. And the not good experiences help build hope and dreams and aspirations. I would not be here teaching and helping uplift you into your true authentic self, which is not decided by anyone else, including me. It's only decided by you, but you, like me and everybody else on this planet having a human experience, was sold a freaking bill of goods that you don't get to decide who you are and how you live. And look at what's happening in the outer world. They're trying to codify that into law because of horrid, abhorrent theology, wicked theology, wicked. You are perfectly who you were designed to be, and your journey is your own, and no one can tell you that you're doing it right or doing it wrong. And so if today was crunchy, if today was hard, if things fell apart, you didn't do it wrong. You're doing life. And some parts of life suck, but they help bounce you. Thank you. They help bounce you to your hopes and dreams and inspirations if you believe in you, that you are a divine slice of creation and you are worthy. And we're all taught we're not for some reason, because it's about control. So of course, people want you to believe you're lacking, that you're not good enough. And you do their work when you beat yourself up. You do the work of the oppressor when you don't think you're good enough, when you think you're too much, when you think that you're somehow immoral, that your very existence isn't worthy. It's not true. It's not true. There is no delusion in hope. There is no delusion in hope. I took this week off of readings to finish the mystery school, to get all of the material in, get things organized, work with my designer and the developer and get all of it done. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to offer any more classes until that's done, because everything's going to go through there. But when I read message after message after message that people felt they'd done it wrong, I thought, God, you guys don't even understand manifestation. And 90% of the cuties on here talking about it don't understand it. You are manifesting every moment of every day. You co-create reality. All those people who saw my message saying you are loved, you co-created that with me. The people who said I really needed this, thank you. You created that energy that prompted me to make the message. We are co-creators in this life. And as we focus, and this isn't about blame, we want to keep shame, blame, and guilt out of everything. We don't create the trauma, okay? But when we've had it, that's kind of the frequency we're used to working on. I learned that the hard way. And so we learn to turn our attention. We learn to turn our attention to different things. We lean into the hope because that is the solution. Okay, and only you know how you do that. But there are principles, metaphysical principles that don't get taught because you know what? It's not as simple as lighting a freaking candle and getting the right rock. Or it is as simple, it just doesn't make anybody any money. And there's nothing wrong with making money, but I kind of have an issue when people are shilling. Okay? When people are shilling. You know, and they're going to get you the right candle for the right thing and the right crystal for the right thing when you have all the wisdom you need inside of you. And yes, study helps. Study helps train our Mercuries, right? It does. But not one of you did it wrong today. You were living your life. Not one of you did it wrong today. Not one of you did it wrong today. You were living life. Thank you for the flowers. You were living your life, and that is what you are here to do. You are not here to meet perfection. You are not here to reach some arbitrary standard applied by someone else, some greater authority. You're not. You're not meant to do that. You're meant to live your life and have your range of experiences, good and bad. In 2012, which was another great awakening, okay, in 2012, I had a major unfolding. As I walked across my living room, the whole of my life flashed before me, good and bad. Trauma? Absolutely. And I realized I'd do it all again if it put me in this position. And that's when the mystery school just downloaded into my head. And I spent a weekend filling up 3 5-subject notebooks. Everything from chemical formulas to DNA strands to, mathematical equations, channeled messages, all of that downloaded. And I finished and I went, I don't know how I'm going to do that. That's a lot. I'd do it all again to be able to have this conversation with you. I don't care if there's 100 people here. I don't care if there's 2 people here. If I could get one person to know how worthy they are, I'd go through it all again. Every agonizing step. One of the things that concerns me is how attached we are to trauma and the stories of trauma. Because the more we get attached to that, the less we're moving into hope. And we say, well, that's magical thinking and that's delusional. How many young people give up because they believe they'll never be okay again? That breaks my heart. And maybe that's their soul's path. But what if you knew how deserving of simple peace, simple joys? Everybody's looking for the big external thing, and we are going through the biggest change in human history since the Bronze Age. I've been warning about it for over 20 years and got called crazy for a good part of it. And I warned people anyway. And some people listened, some people didn't. Some people didn't listen till 2020, and I got a lot of text messages, let me tell you. So if things aren't working out, it's because systemically things are changing and there's new ways of becoming and being on the horizon. Don't judge yourself by other people's standards. What other people think of you is not your business. Okay? If people don't like you, that's their problem, literally. Then they're the wrong people for you, or you're not resonating in the same space. They might be the right people later, or they may never catch up. It's okay. We grow and evolve through a series of understandings. And if you woke up in 2020, get ready for a ride, because it won't be the last one. Waking up is just one thing. You become aware of your spiritual and social and political life. And then you have to decide what to do with it. And it's easy to want to check out. It's easy to want to dissociate. It's easy to want to just be like, fuck this shit. Disenfranchise yourself. But the point of waking up is to make a new reality. And some people will call that delusional. Back in the 90s and the early 2000s, and me being a proponent of the internet, I got called crazy all the time. I was like, you need to be on this thing. This is going to be shaping the world. This is going to be shaping commerce. Oh my God, thank you for the butterflies. I love that. This is going to shape everything. People are like, oh, it's just a fad. Whatever. I got told the same thing about computers in the 1980s when I was a kid. It's not a fad. Shapes everything. And the reason they go after social media, like, oh, social media is hurting everybody. Really? Do you know how much damage TV did? Look at Fox News. How much damage is that doing? And that's programming. It's called programming for a reason. It is passive, and your brain goes into the same state it does when you're being hypnotized, by the way, when you watch television. It does not when we're online, because it's interactive. You're actually able to engage your brain and think, but you got to learn to use it. That's why I train people how to use their Mercuries, not my Mercury, not how I think, not my dogma, not my beliefs. Often, if you ask me what I believe, I will not tell you, because it's neither your business to know my beliefs, nor is it my business to put them on you. You have your own life to live. Now, with this Jupiter and Neptune conjunction, it was not just today. Oh my God. That was beautiful. Thank you. With this Jupiter and Neptune conjunction today, it wasn't just for today. It starts 160 years some cycle. Okay. That energy brings out the rest of your natural life. Okay, and it doesn't mean everything's always going to fall apart. If you had a bad day today, things were falling apart so new things could come in. It's that simple. Okay, and I know that doesn't always make us happy. We like things, we like to control our environment. We like to control how things go. And that's an illusion. Okay. The greatest illusion that we have going on in the world today is that you have to commute ungodly hours in ungodly traffic, polluting your environment, while you go to an office and sit in unnatural light, doing unnatural things. That's a huge illusion. But people call that reality. Why? Because it benefits somebody else who happens to have the illusion of power. Their illusions are about to be dispelled. We are born and we transition out of this life. That's the only reality. What we do in between is what we make of it. And yes, some of us have more privilege and some of us have less, but we all have the opportunity to dream. And it is the dreamers and the doers of the dreams who move us forward. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. You know, we haven't been living in capitalism. I'll put my political analyst hat on. We're living in corporate socialism. There is no capitalism anymore. Capitalism is a free market. It's just a fair exchange of goods. That's it. Supply and demand. We haven't been there since Reagan. And the 90s screwed that pooch big time. We live in a corporatist, oligarchical economic system. Otherwise, you'd be getting a fair wage for your labor. It's that simple. That's it. We need more workers, cooperatives. We need people to learn how to communicate, collaborate, and play. It's not enough to fill out paperwork. This is all going to be taught in the mystery school because our spiritual life is our physical life. There's no separation. We're not here to get off. We're here to move our species forward, ever evolving. And when we employ the dogma that hasn't served us, that causes suffering, there is no need to continually suffer. Pain is inevitable. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. We will all stub our toes at a certain time. We will all bonk our head on a car door. We will all have a breakup as relationships evolve and change in our lives. We were never meant to find the one. And in fact, twin flames isn't even a real spiritual concept. It was invented as a marketing device about 15 years ago. Take it from a lifelong metaphysician who was well over 50 now. For real. It never existed in the ancient texts, right? The school is up this month. The school is going to be up this month. That's why I took, in fact, hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have Cosmic Surfers and Living by Luna people in it. I just have to, I'm editing as fast as I can. I'm trying to get Rita and I'll be working on some video over the next couple of days that I've produced. And so it's just getting it edited. So remember, I'm self-funded. I haven't taken any loans. I haven't taken any venture capital because the integrity of this project is important. I'm not going to compromise to make a venture capitalist happy, nor do they happen to like most of my projects because I went to venture capitalists about 6 years ago and got my ass chewed for my project being too human, because the foundation is having people self-actualize and know their value. And we wouldn't want that, would we? Yeah, we do. So, you didn't do it wrong. You didn't manifest wrong today, okay? Even if you had a bad day, you really, really didn't. You didn't do it wrong. Sometimes things need to go away. Sometimes relationships need to fall away. Sometimes you're growing and other people can't keep up. And sometimes they're growing and you can't keep up. We're not here to sit and judge other people's processes. That's a distraction. And there will be distractions. There will be conflicts that show up. It's a resistance pattern. And that's some of what I'm going to talk about in Manifestation 101. I'm going to talk about resistance patterns. That's why it's a 2-hour workshop. It's not just an hour. I'm going to rattle off information. I'm going to explain what gets in the way of you getting to where you want, whether it's thoughts or physical patterns. Okay? And it's not about blame. It's just about being aware of it so you can shift your attention. This life is sometimes like walking a tightrope or driving a stick shift car, a manual transmission. You got to get your foot on the clutch and move the gears and pay attention to what you're doing. And sometimes we bump into our garage a little. And sometimes we bump into the curb. And sometimes we bump up against one another. That's life. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them wrong. It makes it experiences. And when you can come to a neutral space, you have so much power. And if I can help you liberate yourself and find your power, then I will have done my job. My job is not to tell you how to live. My job is not to tell you how to believe. My job is to teach you just some very small things that help you do the big things in your life. My job isn't to teach you what to believe or how to believe. It's to help you know what you believe authentically. Malcolm's doing weird things behind me. What are you doing? He's being a Malcolm. But yeah, your day was split down the middle, partly amazing and partly triggered AF. Yeah, that can happen, especially as we grow. Sometimes we take one step forward, maybe a big step, and then there's pushback, because it's a really strong frequency that we've been tuning into, right? And so as you go, oh my God, this is great. Then you go, whoa, blowback. It happens. It happens to everybody. It happens to the Dalai Lama. Okay, it happens to all those paragons out there that do a lot of preaching, but you don't see that. And they also have more experience and more training, so they're more able to course correct faster. Okay, that's all it is. Okay, but even the Dalai Lama, he says it. He says, he has bad days too. He has frustration too. He has had a ton of loss in his life. Of course he gets triggered. And of course he has moments. And then he realizes what it is and he makes an adjustment. And that's all it is. Okay? Unpacking the beliefs that hold us back is tough. Right? Focus on yourself. There you go, Spencer. That's a big one. That's a big one. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard. But as you focus on you, then you rise into the person you're meant to be, and other people will then be magnetized into your experiences. We've all been sold, both all people, okay, regardless of gender, have been programmed to believe they need another person to somehow fulfill them, and that their value is based on their relationship status. And that's bogus, because that is not a natural state for human beings. Not a natural state. It is a social and cultural program. Okay, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have relationships. I think relationships are amazing and they teach us a lot. We're not meant to live in isolation. We're social creatures. But our value is not dependent on the opinion of another person. Our value is inherent. You're valuable because you're here. Okay, all of you are valuable because you are here in physical bodies, on a physical plane. Okay, your guides do not punish you. Your guides are not mean. Nobody's disappointed in you. That is not how it works. I have been clairvoyant and clairaudient my whole life. Okay? My whole life. Nobody's disappointed in anybody. We are constantly encouraged. We are constantly embraced. We are constantly loved, because being in a physical body, on a physical planet, physical dimension, in a material plane is hard. And it takes the brave ones to be here. It's easy to be incorporeal and be made up of neutrinos and stardust and floating around in the ethers. You're not bumping up against shit. It's hard to be a human. It's hard to be a dog. It's hard to be a rock. It's hard to be a tree. It's hard to be water. And yes, I included everything in that, because to be in dense physical reality it takes something. It takes a little moxie. And we are always encouraged. Anybody saying different is trying to make some kind of control effort. Okay. Now, did they get that download? Oh, sure. Those frequencies, every thought that's ever been thought exists. Thoughts are eternal. Okay. That's why we need to learn how to tune ourselves into the frequencies we want to tune in. And people will call that magical thinking. They would rather have you miserable and deflated and disempowered so they can control you. Shock. And I would like to remind you, even if you do deity work, remember, if a deity needs you, why do you think they like presence? Why do you think they like the adoration? Why do you think they want the edification? Because your belief empowers them and makes them real. Mic drop. And I'm not saying don't work with deity. You absolutely can. It's great to connect into an energy to help like magnify your own, but do it with the knowledge that you are the one that they need. They need you more than you need them. And that's the truth. We have obviously seen what happens with egregores as this nation is being run through by some very challenging energy. And it's really easy to want to combat it. And it's really easy to be angry about it. And I know it is for me. But it serves as a distraction instead of us creating what we want in this world. And it's up to us to create what we want in this world. And that means we have to learn better communication skills. We need to train our Mercuries. You know, we've learned all this technology, right? We've got all of this technology in the last 150 years, amazing technologies that our grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents couldn't conceive of, okay? But what we didn't train was our ability to communicate, to own our own thoughts, to learn how to communicate, collaborate, and play with other people in community. People use the word community all the time without knowing what it means, without knowing how to work within it, because we have hierarchical thinking, okay? So somebody must be large and in charge and everybody else is a follower, but that's not how it's supposed to work. Each according to their abilities and means, and being able to communicate and understand and have compassion for one another. It doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable. You can have compassion and hold people accountable in a loving manner even. We look at crime and punishment all the time. There are billions of dollars being made on that right now when it's not necessary. And yes, there are some people who don't function well in groups. There are people who do cause disruption and require consequence, but it's how the consequences are enacted. And we need to innovate now. Pluto in Aquarius is coming. And it will not be unity consciousness. Because we have to evolve, and evolution kind of means shit has to get broken up a little bit and things get a little wild. Because nothing gets innovated if everybody's complacent, right? And that's what I'm here for. I want to develop processes that help people learn what they believe, how they communicate, gain some skills so they can work with one another. Not necessarily in unity consciousness. I don't think unity consciousness is the way to go. I don't think everybody should believe the same thing. I don't think everybody should be clones. I don't think we should all sit in a hive mind. I think we need to come from a like-hearted space not a like-minded. We don't need group think. We need group heart, because that's what moves us through climate change. That helps us adapt our living situations. That helps us adapt the economies. And when you look at these people who are control mongers and fear mongers, they're more willing to drive us off a cliff than to make the necessary adaptations and adjustments. So it is up to us. And we don't have to have a revolution. We don't have to go after people. We need to create that which we want to see in the world. And that means being empowered and liberated from our social and cultural conditioning. Some people call it like unpacking your patriarchy, or unpacking, decolonizing yourself, or, whatever term people are using. Okay. I'm not saying any of those terms are wrong. They're all correct. Removing the idea of hierarchy, creating safe group spaces for people to be individuals and contribute beyond social and cultural programs. That's huge. And that's what I'm teaching at the Mystery School, because that's actually the great secrets in the ancient wisdom that was taught. And no, it didn't come from those cultures. Some of the works I studied were written for times far ahead of where they were. Just kind of like Nostradamus' quatrains, right? He didn't write for the people of his time. So that's why his stuff is really creepy and spooky, because he was getting creeped out and spooked. Trust me, I know what it's like to look far out into the future. You can't describe it adequately. You can only use metaphors that make sense to you in your current reality. But you guys need to stop thinking there's a sky daddy or a sky mommy, or the universe is punishing you or giving you gifts. This Jupiter-Neptune conjunction wasn't Christmas. It's not like you were getting coal or presents. That's not how the universe works. It's not. That's not how energy works. And when we come from a quantum perspective, we can learn how to work with the flow of energy or against it, right? And that's why I always call it surfing the cosmic tide. Sometimes we fall off our surfboards. It's okay. We get back on them. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Rita, I know, you and I have to meet this week. Get some merch going. Each one of you is so valuable. Each one of you. And you have been taught to believe you are less than you are. And that is an unfairness, but that's part of the soul path as well. Sometimes our souls are here to show us we're worth more. Sometimes our souls have decided that we're going to walk a little bit of crunch and come in and feel victorious. There are times I sit and I wonder at this life I have created, because it was not easy getting here. There's a lot of people who claim to be self-made that aren't. Elon, Bill. They weren't self-made. I am. I'm self-made. I had to restart my life 3 times over from nothing. Nothing. And sorry. The last time I did it on purpose. First time I was young. Second time it was big life transits. So like for those of you going through something today where things look like they'll never ever be okay again, I can assure you I have lived through times like that. And it is okay. And it will be okay again. Sometimes we have losses that are unfathomable. Sometimes we think our heart will never stop aching. And I can assure you, there will be a time that your heart stops aching and you'll still miss whoever it was, or the situation, or the things you had. You'll still miss it a little bit, but you'll see the wisdom. You'll see why. And you'll also realize that things aren't as separate as we think. The people who call the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction about illusion don't understand that the illusion is the social cultural structures that we have that were imposed by other human beings. It is not about the natural order of things. Remember, there are a lot of people who claim to have knowledge who are just repeating what other people are saying. That's why you see the same message over and over and over again. It's because they're just people copying one another. But they have cute clothes. Or long hair and beards, because that makes you a truth speaker. Sometimes I do a little aesthetic. I would have this chair, whether I was on camera or not. I would have that moon, whether I was on camera or not. I've loved the moon since I was a little girl, before I even knew about astrology. Because I'm a moon baby. I was born the day the men were coming back from the moon. And I always thought that was cool. We are living in extraordinary times, and you are right. You are the extraordinary human being, right in the right place at the right time to contribute to what comes next. You are not here to fix or right wrongs from the past. You are here to build a future. Every single one of you. Not one of you needs to wait one more second. Malcolm, what are you doing? You don't need to go behind the chair. Come here. Malcolm will come and join us for a minute. Oh, the Malcolm. So, we have an eclipse coming at the end of the month. This is a very powerful new moon eclipse. It is happening in Taurus. Taurus is a sign that represents value, not just finances, value, self-worth included, and comfort. And so this is a very, very powerful new moon. That is why I chose, even though I wasn't going to offer anything off of woke astrology, because I'm trying to get my new website and the mystery school done this week. But I decided to do Manifestation 101 to help you understand what manifestation actually is and how to unblock and be receptive, but also understand you're doing it all the time and how to tune your channels, okay? So that's linked up in my bio. My mods have a code for you guys. There's 25 spots for this code where you save $22, okay? So 25 spots, because I mostly give room to my patrons in my classes. So my patrons get special discounts as well. So if you're a patron, check your email. Read the second one, because I had the code wrong in the first one. And we're going to go over that. We're going to use the energy of that very, very, very powerful new moon. It is a very powerful solar eclipse. And we've got a powerful lunar eclipse in May as well. And so, and I'll be talking about that on the podcast as well. As you can tell, I'm super, super passionate about you understanding how valuable you are, how loved you are, and appreciated by the universe that you are. There's nothing insufficient about you. Okay? You can call me Astro Mama. That's fine. Celestial Mama. You'll find out in the mystery school I'm a lot more than an astrologer. Astrology is one of my deep passions. But I am a metaphysician. And I decided as a very small girl that helping people know how important they are was the most important thing I could do. Because that was the way that the world would be a better place, because hurt people hurt people. So, yeah. I would rather be the guide on the side than the sage on the stage, and that is a saying taught to me by one of my mentors, Be the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage. I am never going to tell you how to live your life. I will give you processes that help you discover how you best live your own life. Anybody telling you there's only one way is lying and controlling you. People who say they have the ultimate truth that everybody else needs to believe are controlling. There is no ultimate way except yours. That's the real secret. That's the key to navigating life. And it's not rugged individualism, and it doesn't exclude collectivism. If everybody knew who they were and was sitting in their power, they wouldn't need to have pissing contests. They wouldn't need to be fighting for who was better or prettier or stronger. You wouldn't have people going, oh, I'll defend you. You don't need defense when you know your power. And people don't need to jump to someone else's. People don't annihilate other people when they're actually powerful. All violence comes from weakness. All of it. All of it. All the dominance and control comes from weakness. All devil's gonna get you comes from weakness. Why do you need to control what other people believe if your belief is strong, unless you're weak? It's just a question. A lot of you left some very damaging theology. But the more you think about it, the more you empower it, the harder it is to liberate yourself from it. And it's really easy to slide in to spiritual teachings that corroborate the messages that you grew up with. That's why it feels comfortable. Okay? It's just an extension of the same concepts. I know what it's like to unpack all this stuff. I had to unpack it too in my journey. And so I'm not teaching you the dogma. I'm giving you processes to unpack your own beliefs and understand what really matters to you, what helps you align into yourself. If I can help you be authentically yourself as much as possible in any given moment, because again, we all have old stuff and it gets released over time. Never think, even somebody in my age group who's been a metaphysician their whole life, still grows and evolves. When you're done growing, you croak. You're out. Then you're done. And then you go on to the next thing. There's no end. Eternity is a really long time, and you're not going into the seventh layer of anything. Right? We grow and evolve as people, and you didn't manifest wrong if today went like shit. It just might be that things have to crumble to reforge. And the Jupiter-Neptune energy goes out over time. It was the ringing of a gong. Just like the Pluto energy from 2020, it's still moving out there. We're still experiencing it. That's why the structures are failing. That's why the power, brokers are having trouble holding on to things, and they're clinging and clutching and trying to force things. That's why. It's that simple, So, yeah. Pouring and snowing in Vancouver, the conjunction would exact. Yeah. I told you guys it would be really, really wet this month in a lot of places. It was really windy in Southern California. We're not getting the preset, but we're in a different position. But everywhere I said we get precipitation, got it. And at the very least, we're not in a water crisis in Southern California. But yeah, the Pacific Northwest and then east of the Rockies had very severe and will continue to have severe weather, especially once Mars moves into Pisces coming up later this week. So Yeah. If you guys want to stay up to date with what's going on in the world, that's what I have in the Patreon. Every 2.5 days, Astro and Adventures and Up get the forecasts where I go through the metaphysical side of things, the more self-actualizing concepts from a personal level, as well as just the mundane. Because, you know, in astrology, there's many layers of interpretation, and I focused on mundane as a young astrologer, and then I moved into esoteric astrology, also known as soul-centered astrology, and then evolutionary astrology, and then developed my process of progressive evolutionary astrology, because everything else had a lot of patriarchy in it, and I wanted to depatriarchyfy astrology. That's a new term, depatriarchyfy. But my Venus in Gemini likes to make up new words. And you can, because somebody made up the other words. You know, when people are like, oh, that's not how you can make shit up. Whatever. As long as people understand you. Yeah. Oh, Malcolm's taking a nice nap on my lap. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, snow day in April. Yeah. Yep. Well, it's climate change. We're having evidence of climate change. And we'll continue to. And that's one of the reasons we have to be more in tune and aligned with ourselves so that we can communicate, collaborate, and with others in order to adapt and change. That's a lot of the Uranus in Taurus energy. It's forcing us to innovate and change. And all of those power brokers who are trying to hold on to this is how it is, well, they're going to find out really fast that that ain't how it works. And we have to innovate. We have to. And we can't necessarily wait. We don't have time to wait. We have time to move now. That's what we have time for. And that's why I'm pushing myself to get the mystery school done. And I won't lie, I was lamenting today that I wished I would have been able to make this happen sooner, because I do not have the ability to work more than one all-nighter a week. And I pushed it last night. I got a lot done. But it used to be I could do that like 2-3 nights, and I cannot anymore. So I'm just going to have to take it step by step and remember that I took this week off to do it. But I feel the urgency, you see. I feel the urgency. There's so many things we need to do right now. And I want you empowered so that you can take your part, you see, because you do have a part. Each one of you has a part to play. And it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing of being a world leader or what have you. It could be, you know, if my whole job is to help you feel loved, I'm okay with that. If Astro Mama is the job, I'm okay with that. To me, that's better than standing up on any pulpit. To me, that's better than leading any march. You have your role to play. And if I can help nurture that in you, then this world is so much better off. When you know how valuable you are. We have so many young people's lives at risk because of people with such limited thinking capacity. That if we don't learn to teach ourselves and others how to be valued and valuable as individuals, well, it's going to be a much harder road. We don't always have to have a hard road. Not that a hard road is always bad, but wouldn't it be nice if we can communicate, collaborate, and network in ways that help facilitate other people knowing how loved they are? Huh. Yeah. Yes, you can hear my neighbors running upstairs. It's just helping me become very, very clear about the property where the actual physical mystery school will be. I'm manifesting that with everything in my body. I will be having a beautiful acreage with access to water. And I'm thinking cob building structures because I love cob. And I want one that's in the shape of a shoe because I want to be the old woman who lives in a shoe. You see, spirituality doesn't always have to be very serious. We can use our senses of humor. We have them for a reason. But anyway, I have work to do tonight. I need to eat something because I haven't eaten dinner yet. But I just wanted you to know you never did it wrong. You're doing life. And that is a sacred thing. Even if it feels icky. It's just helping you get clear about the next steps. Okay? So much love to all of you. Make sure you go to the link in my bio to see the latest classes. If you are a patron, there is special discounts. Okay, so you can always ask for those in the Discord. If you're not a patron, all levels have the discount for the Manifestation 101 class. Everybody gets to meet me for coffee with Lori. Okay. And that's the last Sunday of the month. Okay, that's the last Sunday of the month. Okay. So, I will chat at you guys later. If you missed my latest podcast, that's also linked up in the bio. I'll talk to you guys later. Much love.